What's up, everybody? This is game number 1 of the Deadpool Rainbow Draft, and there's a few things to get out of the way right out the gate. We rolled off to see who would go first, and my opponent won the roll-off, but actually elected to go second. This is because we were instigating the new first-turn rule, where whoever goes first has to take 4 dice out, remove 1, put it in spent, and roll 3. So I am going first. I pick up a Bob right out the gate with my first roll, and then I pass over to my opponent. This is my opponent's team. This was his first time drafting. He picked up Scarlet Witch, that rare Scarlet Witch that I saw during the draft. Hit Monkey, just the fast common one. He's got a Black Bolt, but it doesn't look like that synergizes with anything. So maybe he just picked it up for the good stats. A 2-5-4 for 5 is not so great. The 4-cost Black Bolt will be better. He's got a Hollow Rare Lady Bullseye, Colossus, Hollow Common Angela. He picked up he uses Nasty Plot and Surprise Attack. He told me before we started playing that he just had enough time to grab an AOU starter set and pull a couple of basic actions from that. And it's weird too. My opponent during the draft, he drafted and then got a call that said he needed to help somebody out. So this is actually the tournament organizer, Pete, is playing in his stead because he had to run and do something for a friend. So I'm actually playing Pete, and he's playing a team that he did not draft nor think about beforehand. He just kind of sat down and we started. So he starts out by picking up one of those rare Scarlet Witches that does damage anytime it hits the board to each opponent. So I roll up my 4, land 3 shields and a fist. That's actually a pretty good roll for me because it synergizes, or it allows me to buy Deadpool, Kid Pool. Question is, do I want to buy a Kid Pool here, or do I want to buy a Superhero Registration Act and get my ramp going? I end up going to pick up a Superhero Registration Act, pass over to my opponent. He rolls it up, gets 3 sidekicks. I urge him to keep 3 sidekicks. He doesn't, which is the right play. He ends up with the exact same roll that I had earlier. 3 shields and a fist. Question for him is he going to buy some ramp like I did, or is he going to buy some characters? He can't buy another Scarlet Witch, but he can buy something else on his team. He's going to pick up actually 2 surprise attacks. That's interesting. Those can't go to face. They can only go to characters. But you can roll them for generic energy, and maybe that's his thinking, is to just buy a bunch of low-cost generic energy, dice to churn those out. I end up with 5 energy here. I wonder if I'm going to re-roll that Superhero Registration Act. I do. It doesn't come back as the action. So 5 energy is what I've got. And then I have a question. I have 3 5-cost characters. I have the ability to buy each of them because they're, or one of them, because they are all a fist energy type. The question is, what plays best against what he's gotten so far? He's gotten Power Bolt, or it's not Power Bolt, Surprise Attack, which deals 2 or something like that. And he's got Scarlet Witch, which hits the board and deals 2 to all fist characters. So it's going to deal 2 to all of them, and it deals 1 to each player. So the best choice here, so Deadly on Deadpool, and the stat line is probably the worst option. A decent option would be Agent X because it's got a 6-5 action side. The only downside to buying that is it has a 5-2 attack on its first side, so it will get KO'd by Scarlet Witch's ability when she hits the ground running. Another good choice here would be the Angel Dust, but it's got a 2-2 stat line, which will again get KO'd when Scarlet Witch hits the board. Her top side's way better, but her bottom side is way worse, and her middle side is just a 4-4 versus Agent X's is a 5-4. So I ended up going with Agent X. There, Scarlet Witch gets activated. Both of us take 1. And then he does something that I did not expect at all. He pushes forward with the Scarlet Witch. He rolled it on its 5-5 side, its level 3 side. So I immediately take 5 damage on top of the 1 that I took from its when fielded ability. So it knocks me down to 14 early, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, if I would have known that would have happened, the Angel Dust would have been a pretty good buy as well, because Angel Dust gets buffed to 2 for every time or whenever you're lower in life than your opponent. So I field Bob there for free, and then I buy a Kid Pool because I have that combo set up already. Of course, if that Scarlet Witch comes back around, it's a 2/1 Bob, so it's going to get KO'd every time. And he's a fist character, so I don't think he, on any of his sides, has the ability to survive a when fielded effect that deals 2 damage. My opponent keeps 2 sidekicks, puts them out in the field, has 3 energy, doesn't have a 3, realizes that he doesn't have a 3-cost shield character to purchase. And again, that's one of those situations where when he didn't draft it, he isn't as familiar with the team. Nothing to buy means this turn is basically burned. Good thing for me because I am behind on the life total. So I refill my bag. I had 2 sidekicks left in there. Refill my bag. Kid Pool immediately comes out. That's nice. End up with, 3 energy and 2 sidekicks. So I'm going to want to re-roll some of that. Definitely want to try and land Kid Pool. Kid Pool is going to get buffed +2 attack for another affiliated character being out on the board. And he's going to get buffed +1 attack, and he did come up, because Bob's ability is one that buffs all Deadpool affiliated characters. So I'm going to have looks like it's a 4/4, because it's on its 1/4 side, so it ends up being a 4/4 Kid Pool. All of a sudden, a really good die that has really good stat lines for a 3. So there I explained to Pete the combo that buffs Kid Pool up. So his own ability plus Bob's +1. I do a poor job of explaining it, but eventually he understands. He just chip blocks the right play, gets him some ramp. And he starts his turn, pulls 3. Looks like he's going to refill and pull 1 more. He purchased all 3 surprise attacks. Shakes it all up and goes ahead. So he's got 5 energy, 7 if you count the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, excuse me. If you count the 2 generic. I'm going to assume he wants to reroll the 2 generic, but we will find out. 2 shields, a fist, and a mask. I'm assuming he's going to want to reroll some of that because he has more Scarlet Witches. He's got Angelas that he could buy. He's got 3 Angelas. In fact, the draft for my opponent, the guy who actually drafted the team, he ended up with a lot of dice for all of his cards. He was clearly drafting specific cards to pick up the dice for those. So he's got a lot of options here. But the energy that he rolled doesn't exactly allow him to purchase the things that he has multiple dice for. He could pick up a Colossus right away. He's got the fist. He's got the 6 energy. Let's see if he chooses to do that, or he's looking like he's going to re-roll. Ends up with a question mark. So now he can purchase anything. Let's see what he goes with. So he's got 4, and 2 are going to burn if he makes a 4-cost purchase. So he's going to buy a Scarlet Witch. And I think that's actually a good read, and it's okay to burn this energy because if he looks over at my team, I've got 1, 2, 3, what is that, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards that are, of my 8 that are fist characters. So that's 5 cards that it's going to deal 2 damage to every time he throws it down. So he's pretty much got a guaranteed board wipe anytime he cycles those dice. I end up rolling the Agent X right away. That's nice. Sadly for me, it's on its 5/2 side. Going to re-roll one of those dice. Does not come up as SRA again. He had the fodder to make it 2 instead of 3, but it would have been better just to knock it out anyway and get the 2 ramp instead of having 2 generic. Just to move through the bag a little quicker. So with 1 defender, I can attack in multiple ways. So my thinking here is I know a Scarlet Witch is coming out, and I can assume that it will be rolled. I know he'll take it on whatever side it comes up on. If I attack with just one of those, if I leave Deadpool or Kidpool, excuse me, if I leave it in the field, it will survive because it's on its 4 defensive side. If I attack with just Agent X, then it'll get chump blocked and no damage will go through. If I attack with everything, then all of it will get chump blocked, or only one thing will get chump blocked, and most likely it'll be the Agent X because it deals the most damage. So I'm just going to attack with these 2, it looks like. And this might be a misplay. This is me hoping that my opponent chooses incorrectly. He chump blocks the bigger one and sends Deadpool or Kidpool through. I keep calling it Deadpool. So actually that ended up being a misplay on my end because I will not have anything in the board to defend with. Wanting to push damage through. My hope there also was that he just did not block the Agent X, and then I can pay 2 life to cycle it into prep. But with that hitting the board, that will wipe everything anyway. So there's my cycle. That also does hit both of our life totals down 1. So both of us are now 14 to 13. He's got 3 energy. No, excuse me. He's got 2 energy and a surprise attack. Surprise attack will do no good because he already wiped my board. I don't think he realized the power of hitting that board with Scarlet Witch against a bunch of fist characters. So I roll up 4 dice. Along with the ones that were KO'd. Still don't have an SRA. Still have not landed an SRA, so I can't, or I'm not cycling through my bag as quickly as I could before. Shake up my giant wad of dice. Roll it up. I get the, what is that? The 1-cost 5/4 side of the Agent X this time, which is much better. That's going to survive at least 1 Scarlet Witch. I have a bunch of energy. Not really wanting the energy. I'd rather re-roll some stuff. Get Bob to come back. I think that's on his 3/2 side. Now it looks like it's something 1 side. So pay to field the Agent X. And I have 5 energy, so here's another decision again. Do I take the 1 Angel Dust? And that is looking like what I am going to take. That's probably the best play because I am behind in life total already. Deadly doesn't do me any good here, the keyword that's on Deadpool. And she's got such an upside with her stats that right now she's going to be a 4/4, even on her lowest side, unless something crazy happens and I can swing in for more damage. But every time one of those Scarlet Witches lands, it's going to deal him and me both 1 damage. So this life total will keep going at this rate unless I attack. So I can actually manufacture a +2/+2 advantage the whole time. Alright, so he picks up the 3rd Scarlet Witch. So he's just looking for constant board wipe. He pings out my, with surprise attack, pings out my Bob. So I'll re-roll that this turn. So it was the 1 side defense. Bob does not come up, but Kidpool does. And I also did not land SRA yet again. So going to want to re-roll Bob. Going to want to re-roll SRA. Might even re-roll that sidekick, but having a sidekick in the field is not bad. It just means it's an extra die to roll later, because the moment a witch comes out, it just becomes prep fodder. So he chooses not to KO one of his only character, and instead allows me to draw 3 dice and roll them. So I end up with 3 sidekicks, roll them up, get another sidekick to land, a mask, and a fist. Put those sidekicks out there, put the Kidpool out there. Still didn't get Bob, which is too bad because I had a nice little combo here, and he's only got 1 blocker. This is one of those instances where I could have actually done some damage to him if I had landed Bob on that previous turn as well. So pay 5, finally end up with Deadpool there. after I've bought the other 2 5 costs that are a little bit better. Chose those other 5 costs because their stat lines compete with this board a lot better than his does. So he ends up landing a surprise attack and 3 energy. Rerolls the surprise attack. It comes up 2 generic. That gives him 5 energy to buy a 5-cost character. Most energy efficient choice here would be that Black Bolt. Wonder if he's going to take that. It doesn't do anything for his team. It just gives him a body. Looks like he's going to buy an Angela with it. And that leaves one energy within his reserve pool. But we're running, I think, 1 global, maybe 2. Yeah, I think only 1 global. It's the Anger Issues global with the fist. So he could technically have a fist right now for blocking purposes. Buff was blocking character. So rolling up Angel Dust in this roll. She gets up as her 2 fist, and then what is that? Looks like she landed. Lands on her 377. So I pay all 3, come out. She's actually a 399 right now. So now I immediately have the advantage and can pressure. She isn't affiliated as a Deadpool character, though, sadly. So she's a 399. I've got a 544 and looks like a... Is it the 144 again on Kidpool? I have the clear board advantage, but I know that there's a couple of Scarlet Witches that are coming down the pipeline that will board wipe. And because it's a when-fielded ability, you do it every time it gets onto the field. So you can literally hit the board, deal 2, hit the board, deal 2, hit the board, deal 2. And it's such a cheap card for 4. I mean, you can buy that turn 1, turn 2, you can buy that as many times as you want, as long as you run or have the die. So he blocks the biggest. He takes the 2 damage from, or the damage from each. I take 2 in order to put my Agent X into prep area instead of into used pile. He takes the 3 damage from Kidpool, maybe. Moves it down to 6. I took 2 from cycling Agent X, moves it to 11. And that Scarlet Witch KOs. So she is no longer a 9-9. Now she's a 7-7 in the field. That Angel Dust. And his turn begins. He's got 1 Scarlet Witch. Let's see if he draws another. He does draw another. So he's got 5 energy, or 5 dice he's rolling. 1 of them lands, and then 2 sidekicks land. Might actually be good to keep the sidekicks because he's within lethal range, which is one of the reasons why I attacked with those 3. Because I knew he'd block the top and then take the other 2. That put him at 6, and I have a 7-7 out on the field. So he's got to keep blockers here. He chooses to re-roll them, though. And here's an example of him slamming down these Scarlet Witches. So that hits 1 to everything on my side, 2 if it's a fist character, and 1 to both of us. Drops him to 5, me to 10. And so she goes down to a 7-4, no, 7-7, 7-6, 5, 7-5. Then hits the board again with another one. She goes down to a 7-3. And that moves us to 4 and 9 apiece. And then he has a decision to make, which I think he's going to... He's got a low 3-3, I think, on one of those sides, and then a 5-5 on the other side. Looks like he's going to attack with the 5-5. See if he does. He's looking at my life total, which is 9. And he does. He pushes in. So he's giving me a choice. If I block, then I take no damage. And then I have a defender's advantage, which means I get to roll all of those dice again, including Angel Dust, because she's now a 7-3. If I don't block, I have to take 5. That moves me to 4, so we'd be tied, but I'd have a 7-7 guaranteed on board and only 1 defender, which would mean I would basically be in a... Well, I'd be in a great position to win if I roll characters. If I rolled any side on the Angel Dust, or excuse me, not on the Angel Dust, on the Agent X that's sitting in prep, then I would win here if I keep my characters up and take the 5. So I think my best option is to take the 5, drop to 4, Hope I land one character. And that excludes any possibilities of drawing another character from my bag. So there's a decent shot that I could win it right here. If I don't land any characters, then I still have a blocker in the field, and I just hope that I can roll some sidekicks. So Deadpool comes out, and so I have two options, two possibilities of rolling a character. Deadpool comes up. I think that's his fourth side, so that should right there be game. All I have to do here is swing for both. Unless that's his 2-4 side. It might actually be his 2-4 side. It is his 2-4 side, so I got to land... and it does come up. So I land the 6-4 side, or 6-5 side on Agent X, push both of those characters in, pay the required energy, and just push in for lethal. Again, he can only block the top, and he takes the rest of that damage. So it ends up being a really close game. That Scarlet Witch basically did all the work for him, and that was really good. It was a lot of fun, and I had to really manage a lot of things going on. Definitely worth picking up that card. And now I immediately think to myself, I need to trade for that card because I let that pass me up in favor of putting together a team. So end up as 1-0 at the end of this first game. Credit to Pete for playing a really close match and a really good, well thought out match with a team he didn't even draft. So 1-0, moving on to game number 2. Thanks for watching.